What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Friday night usual WandaVision recap breakdown. What's going on, guys? We're the Cine Fanatics. My name is Chris Adams. Check your mic.
There we go. My thing froze up, so my mic was on. I was like, it's working, y'all. It's just my computer's needing to catch up. My computer wanted to flash back to last week when my microphone wasn't working, so that was all it was trying to do.
Previously on Cine Fanatics.
Exactly.
He's Robert Adams also, by the way.
Yeah, and this is Lola right here that's leaving.
So, guys, you know how we do on Friday nights right now. We are doing the WandaVision recaps, the breakdowns, all the fun stuff here. We're going to be kicking this party off here pretty soon. But if you just happen to be joining us, never seen us before, haven't been here before, don't know what's going on, we are going to be talking spoilers about the latest episode of WandaVision. That would be episode 8. So if you have not seen episode 8 of WandaVision yet, we'll catch you later. Go ahead and leave.
Are you actually alive? Like, if you haven't seen episode 8, are you living?
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. How are you not keeping up? That being said, we do a lot of cool stuff here with the chat interaction back and forth. We're going to theorize and speculate over some stuff. We want to hear what you're theorizing and speculating over as well. Best place to get our notice is going to be at that Streamlabs link right up there. Streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. It's the best place to link up there. Before we get started, we also want to point you to our Patreon. If you like what you see here and you want to help us out, jumping on that Patreon is going to be the biggest help possible. We're doing all sorts of cool stuff over there, including a watch along for Coming to America coming up this weekend. I believe that's actually tomorrow. So that's happening tomorrow, and we got to get you guys on that. So hop over on the Patreon on the dude tier. And by the way, our mod in the chat, Vernon, he is giving away the 4K Blu-ray combo pack to Coming to America. So if you hop on there, sign up at that dude tier, join us tomorrow night for the watch along, you'll be entered for a chance to win that. That's some cool stuff there. But all the shenanigans aside, let's start getting into this episode. What did we think? What did we think about it?
This episode was so terrible. Just absolutely cannot,
Bye. All right. This is a great episode. It was fantastic. Really well done. All right. You going to behave?
I'll be on my best behavior. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm gonna need you to turn that up to 11 on the energy scale here.
Right.
Good Lord, y'all. That was a fantastic episode. It did exactly what I was hoping it would do. It gave us the little tidbits about Agatha, wanting to know exactly who Agatha was, and then it went where I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting this episode to answer for everything that's been going on with Wanda. And the thing is through the progression of this show, I've actually kind of forgotten to I've forgotten about that. This whole episode, the shows have been going in a direction where I want to know about Agatha. I want to know about what Sword is doing, what's Monica doing, who's Monica's aerospace engineer. I want to know all of these things. Are the kids real? All of this stuff that we're going to talk about some more later on in this episode tonight, because there's still questions around some of these. I completely forgot that we still haven't had a 100% solidification of Wanda creating this Westview anomaly thing. And this episode dived into it, and I was like, oh yeah, I did want to know this. We all just assumed that it was based off of her trauma and her experiences thus far. This is what actually solidified it.
Yeah, I love it because this was our Wanda Maximoff origin story here. This was what we've been waiting for, that we didn't know we were waiting for necessarily, but was, how did we get the Wanda we have now? Where did she come from, Cotton Eye Joe? That kind of stuff. There's a reference for you. So I love this because it kind of takes you back. We go through all the different flashbacks and everything and kind of figure out where she came from, and basically catching us up to where we're at now, and all the little details over how it is that she is able to do what it is that she's able to do, with some slight hints towards something bigger that we may see more of later on. So this one, I think, guys, we're going to keep it as brief as possible when we're doing this run through here. We're trying to speed run through it a little bit. We still want to go ahead and hear from you guys. So if anytime we're landing on something you want to talk about, again, Streamlabs, best place to do that, but let us know and we'll stay on a subject. We'll kind of hear what you have to say and what your thoughts are as well. We do want to keep this as close to about an hour as possible, though. So we want to speed run through that, hear from you guys. That's how the show works tonight.
Yeah. So getting through this, we are going to do some speculation over what's going to be on next week, and eager to talk about that, because that's where like my little theory thoughts and heart and feelings are all going to be a flutter. So let's get through this episode. Let's talk about what's going to be coming up on the next episode. This is, as Mark Baby Carrots Ellis from the Movie Trivia Schmodown would put it, this was the I can't even say it. Penultimate question. Yes, penultimate question episode. So
one more time. Here we go.
This is the penultimate episode of WandaVision. So diving into this, all it takes is a breather, y'all. Just zen.
Take a breath.
So coming back off of last episode, here's what I like is this episode's title is Previously On. And this is essentially like a flashback episode. Again, this is diving into Wanda's past. So it's more like Previously On Wanda.
Well, it was funny. It was funny to me because when I saw the title of the episode. Okay, I saw the title of the episode was Previously On, and then as it got into it, and Agatha was saying we're going to dive into your past a little bit here, I was like, uh-oh, because on Twitter I had put, if the next episode of this show is a clip show, the one like sitcom trope that they haven't done, if the next episode's a clip show, I'm canceling my Disney Plus subscription. And I was like, oh crap, I might actually have to cancel my Disney Plus subscription.
It is a clip show. It's just clips we haven't seen yet. So
I think I can skate by here. I think I'm good.
Yeah. So I like the nod that the Previously On gave us, and the fact that the Marvel Studios logo turned purple.
Yeah.
That was a nice little touch. I was almost ready for when it turned purple. I was ready for that Agatha All Along song to start back up again, and that was going to be the new intro. And I was like, I saw the purple, and I was like, yes, they're going to do it. And no, they didn't do it. I like what they did. There was no opening to this. It just started. I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think they had an opening for the fourth episode either. Anytime an episode is taking place within the real world, what's actually happening in the real world, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's no intro sequence to it. It's only has been when it was within the sitcom world of the Hex. So
yeah.
Cool touch.
Otherwise, this episode did begin with a flashback to Salem, Massachusetts. In 1693. When I saw this, I wanted to say 1963 because 1963 is a major year for Marvel Comics. A lot of your big major comics, your characters came out in the year 1963. So like Avengers #1 was 1963. I believe, man, now that I'm putting myself on the spot, I'm going to forget it. But I believe Amazing Spider-Man #1 was 1963, and Spider-Man first appeared Amazing Fantasy 15, 1962. So, yeah. Otherwise, X-Men 1963, Fantastic Four was like 61, I believe. So 63 was a lot for like Captain America, Iron Man. I'm gonna nerd out here on this. So,
oh, here we go.
We need to like have a. I know.
We have a graphic. Nerd alert! Nerd alert!
Nerd alert! Like it pops up, and then when it comes back, I've got the nerd glasses on. Yeah, that's what we need to do with this. That would be fun. Didn't think of it this time, but yeah. So we got this background with her being put on trial by the other witches in her coven, and essentially she's trying to suck down dark magic, and they don't like that, so they're putting her on trial. and she goes and basically sucks all their power while they're trying to kill her. And I guess she turns on her mom. Her mom gets this like energy thing on her head that looks like the Scarlet Witch's crown, kind of. And yeah,
so now Agatha looks blue and more like a tiara.
Yeah, looks more like Wonder Woman's crown tiara,
Yeah, kind of.
So, anyways, that's where they go with that. Then we jump into modern. We're back in Agatha's basement. She admits that the Pietro is faked. It's a Fietro.
So dumb.
It was dumb, but it kind of worked. Catherine Hahn's character development on this, that was actually probably the number one reason I was really excited for this episode, is I wanted to see Catherine Hahn just dive in full like crazy Agatha Harkness. And we only got like maybe a smidgen of that the previous episode with just her saying, "Were you thought you were the only magical person? It's so nice to finally meet you." And that was it. And then the little fun thing with the Agatha all along.
I think that's the fun thing there is, and it's probably what's going to cause me to go back and, as I have time wherever I can find it, go back and just rewatch this entire thing all over again, just to see. It's like one of those situations where you watch a movie that has a neat little twist at the end. You want to go back and see if there's anything you missed, some hints here or there that just flew right over your head before. Kind of want to do that again after next week's episode. But yeah, no, I like that. She admits that Pietro is faked, but that still doesn't mean who is Pietro and where did he come from, which is, I think, still questions that we have that maybe we'll have answers to next episode.
So Agatha did say that it is possession. So they were saying that she just got him to possess like I guess a random person, because the real Pietro's body was on a different continent and full of holes. Yeah. So
yikes.
It got so dark real quick. Well, he's bullet ridden and dead, and by now also decaying. So,
I mean, that does make sense when she was having that conversation, when Wanda was having that conversation with Pietro before, and saying he got shot down like a punk in the street or something like that. And it's like, well, that sounds during that sounds like something that Agatha would have been saying or speaking through him, and not necessarily his own words. So yeah, it's a fun little thing.
So then basically Agatha proves that she's got magic, makes a cicada land on her face, turns the cicada into a bird, feeds the bird to Senor Scratchy, grabs some of Wanda's hair, builds a doorway, and they start going through Wanda's pasts.
So the great thing about this episode is it's not like ridden with Easter eggs. This really is more of a, what do you know about Wanda in the MCU? Let's fill in some gaps. That's really what we're getting here.
And I'll be honest, I so far one of my favorite things about this show has been the Easter eggs, being able to break these down and to prove my nerdy worth whenever we do these live stream shows. Like, hey, check this out. This is a nod to that one time that Captain America was eating an apple in the bathroom at the Avengers. Like, I don't know, but like being able to prove like some kind of wealth of knowledge on these connections. And
you remember that one time Captain America was eating that apple and he said, "No, plant yourself firmly like a tree," and tell him, "No, you move."
Yeah. Vernon's pointing out, I like this one. The accent sure does come and go. I like that. They also, so there was that meta joke, but then there was also the one, they actually did almost the same kind of a joke, but without taking it in a joking route, is this first flashback to when they're kids. They talk about like only speaking English on DVD nights, so therefore they're learning how to speak English instead of Sokovian. So they themselves within the story are trying to break away from at least the Sokovian language, which sounded a lot like Russian or Serbian or something. Yeah,
it's like right next door. Yeah. So yeah, that's the fun thing. So we're diving into these flashbacks. We actually get to see Wanda and Pietro's real parents, and they are not the individuals we've been seeing in these commercials all along. So here's the question. Who are those people in the commercials? Probably just two other random people in Westview who got screwed up in all this?
I'm gonna guess Mephisto and Mephisto.
Mephisto and Mephistette.
Wow, really?
I thought you were going there.
It's like whenever someone's asking, like, who was this random person in WandaVision? It seems like everyone's so quick to jump on, oh, that's going to be Mephisto. Like, okay.
You say that, but that's kind of what we've been doing too.
I know.
We've all been doing it.
Well, my suspicions have always been on being other people rather than jumping straight onto the Mephisto boat. So. Pietro, I was thinking was it Chithon?
Chithon.
Yeah.
Which I mean, here's the thing.
I was wrong about that too. Maybe.
Well, we didn't get Pietro at all this last episode, so Agatha is not necessarily very reliable. Granted, we have no reason to doubt anything that she's saying, but we also could doubt because she's antagonistic here. So if she says it was, Pietro was just a straight possession, I don't necessarily know if I quite buy that yet. I'd like to see what he does in the next episode because he's bound to appear again. We saw him, grab Monica essentially.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what that means. But
if the commercials were from Agatha's point of view, it could be different people. It could be Agatha's parents, I guess. Well, I mean, we saw Agatha's mom, so probably not, but
yeah. Might be a little too deep there. Yeah, I think they're just random other people at this point. I don't think they're anybody specifically.
So they do like having a family like DVD night. Wanda loves Dick Van Dyke, which I'm okay to say that on this channel, right? Good.
Only if you make sure that you do say Van Dyke on there.
Okay. Well,
as long as you put the van in there.
Yeah. So the episode that they watch is It May Look Like a Walnut, which the key factor for this episode, for those of y'all not up to date on your Dick Van Dyke, which shame on you, I know, is that Dick Van Dyke's character Rob Petrie he's essentially dreaming. He's stuck in a world that he has no control over. There might be some parallels to what's going on in this episode with this particular Dick Van Dyke episode. So
don't know a single one.
Yeah, at all. So jumping ahead on this, we see the childhood tragedy that they talked about with the Stark Industries bomb, and that bomb. So the bomb lands. And we see from Wanda and Pietro's point of view, this bomb sitting here with the little red light blinking obviously is a nod to, I think I still have it somewhere. It's a nod to the toaster. And of course, in this picture, I don't have the toaster with the red light flashing on it. But yeah, so we see the bomb with the red light flashing. And we learn that Wanda was actually kind of like, she kept the bomb at bay by using hex powers. This was before she was played around with by Hydra and the Scepter.
And so this is a situation that was like heavily implied. We didn't see it directly. She was pulled out of the scene before we actually saw her do anything specifically with the bomb, but it's heavily implied that she had some kind of power over the bomb in that situation, which would be something that she's born with at this point.
There's only so far in the Marvel universe, whether comics, movies, whatever, we've only seen one type of group of people, classification of people that are born with powers. Those of y'all familiar, Wanda, Maximoff, and Pietro are actually mutants. Like the X-Men. Their first appearance was in X-Men number 4 in 1963. So they are mutants, but this is the closest that the MCU has gotten to acknowledging that so far. Back when Wanda and Pietro first showed up, like in Age of Ultron or at the end of Winter Soldier, actually, they did call them miracles, which a lot of people were thinking we're just going to call mutants miracles or whatever. But there was a partnership thing. Like again, there's two Pietros. There was Pietro in the MCU, Pietro in the X-Men movies at the time, And the Pietro and the X-Men movies were not allowed, since that was Fox owned, they were not allowed to mention that Pietro is a part of the Avengers. The Fox X-Men, the other way, the MCU Pietro was not allowed to acknowledge that Pietro and Wanda were mutants and that their father was potentially Magneto. That was just the agreement that the two of them had. Now that Fox and Disney are one, they can go back to potentially hinting and or actually outright saying, if they wanted to right now, that Wanda and Pietro are mutants. But this is the first hint that we've gotten of that.
All's fair now. But yeah, so that's kind of an interesting thing to me, and that might give us our first hint as to how the MCU will treat mutants in the future. Because there's always two ways that this could go for me. It's that either they've just always existed for some reason,
Probability.
They've always existed and just haven't been talked about at all for the last 10, 11, 12, 13 years. Or they're going to come from an alternate dimension. Now, as of right now, we know that multiverse stuff is going to come more into play with the Doctor Strange movie. So far, we're not actually seeing any multiverse stuff in this show pretty much at all.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen if, next episode we get anything multiverse oriented, or if that's all just being held off for Doctor Strange's movie. I'm inclined to believe the latter at this point, but
or Spider-Man No Way Home.
or Spider-Man No Way Home. That's true. We might actually get that first there. So I'm not certain that we're gonna get X-Men from an alternate reality, an alternate dimension, multiverse thing. I'm starting to believe that based on what we see here, the potential of what we see here, X-Men might just have always existed in the MCU, and for some reason, somehow it's going to be explained why we've just never heard about them up until this point. They just haven't been important.
I believe they could actually go the route that mutants have just been kept secret this entire time. That might be possible as well.
I just question how they operate Professor X and Magneto's characters based on their ideology and everything being kept a secret. But that's a conversation for another time, honestly.
Yeah, especially if Magneto still holds the same origin of coming from World War II. So possibly.
He'd be old now.
Yeah. So moving on, we with Wanda and Agatha move forward to Wanda being messed with by Hydra, and we get a good clear shot of Loki's scepter. Of course, Loki's scepter holds the Mind Stone, and this is what's used to kind of enhance. Where did I see it? Enhance. Zoom in and enhance. This is where we see her and Pietro's powers get enhanced, was by this. Of course, from our point of view, we really didn't know that they potentially had power. I have to assume Pietro also had powers as well before the Mind Stone, so we just didn't get to see that.
He was really good at running in school.
Yeah. Just
a little bit better than everybody else.
He was like Dash from The Incredibles, just quickly like zooming and putting the thumbtack under the teacher's butt. So we got that. We got the scepter. We see her being messed with by the Mind Stone, and she actually has like a breakthrough connection with the Mind Stone where everyone else has apparently died. But because Wanda's a mutant, I'm just going to go ahead and say it because that's what they basically were implying. She was able to break through and have that connection with the Mind Stone and got to see this nice looking silhouette of her with like, I guess, a dress or some kind of a coat. And you can kind of see the horns on the top of her head, much like her headdress that she typically wears in the comics.
She looks like she's wearing one of those waist capes. I don't know what actual term that particular article of clothing or accessory would be called, but it's like a cape that would just hang off the waist and not full body.
Because if I knew it, I'd be wearing it right now.
I guess. No, I did that in the 90s with my jacket tied around the waist, and kids pushed me. So
she's going full grunge. She's into Nirvana and Alice in Chains.
Like flannel.
There you go. Yeah, flannel.
Flannel. Wore a screen tee.
that Seattle grunge music scene. That's what she's into at this point now. That Mind Stone, crazy stone.
I mean, she was born in '89, so it makes sense.
I mean, yeah. So, anyway. And then,
well, so yeah, during that segment when the Hydra people are messing with her and everything, she gets that vision of herself there with the Mind Stone and everything. There he is. Hey, buddy.
Sorry, took it off too quick.
Anyway, bye, buddy. So while she's going through that, we get to see that, but then we see from the vantage point of the Hydra dudes who are watching her during that time, and their video, it just snaps. It's quick. She's there. She's on the ground. And I found that funny because it cuts for them just the same way as she was cutting the broadcast earlier, or how when Vision was asking too many questions, she just cut and redo. How we saw that in earlier episodes. It's like something, whether it was her or the Mind Stone within her, was controlling that situation, was doing that. There's a potential where I'm starting to believe that the Mind Stone itself is a living Mind Stone to a degree. Yeah. And therefore is kind of working outside of her to a degree for a lot of this stuff. So yeah, which is why she doesn't quite know what's going on herself as well.
This is a good question that Rachel's asking here. Did she summon the stone up to her, or the stone? Because the stone, seemingly it broke out of the blue jewel that it's contained in. The stone broke out of that and then floated directly in front of her face. Mm-hmm. So yeah, was she controlling it, or was it floating up to her?
Well, that remains to be seen. For a lot of these stones,
We should get the Mind Stone on payroll with Method Living Productions,
right? So a lot of these Infinity Stones seem to operate in a manner of their own will. The Mind Stone here, the Reality Stone, in its liquid form, in the ether form, seem to have a will of its own. The Soul Stone only goes to those who lose a loved one in exchange. So it seems to have a mind of its own to decide who it goes with and whatnot. So a lot of these different ones, they seem to have their own kind of consciousness, so to speak. That might be what we're saying here.
I would say the same for the Tesseract, because if you've noticed throughout all the movies, at various times, various people who are holding the Tesseract, different things happen to them. Red Skull touched the Tesseract and he just got beamed out of there. While Loki picks up the Tesseract and he just holds it, sits there, looks around, and then makes himself disappear automatically. So the Tesseract reacts to different people who are touching and holding it. So yeah, I would probably agree. Tesseract also has that mind of its own type of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyways, so moving on, we move into where Wanda and Agatha are now fast forwarding to the Avengers compound, basically right after Age of Ultron, after Pietro has died and Wanda's just having to deal with this loss of her brother. And you said that when they flash to it, you hear the Avengers theme, which I didn't hear, but that's awesome.
Yeah,
you hear nice little tie into it.
They bring in the score just a little bit as we see them stepping into the Avengers compound in her bedroom and everything. You hear just a small, brief little bit, and that it's just once again just a great way that the MCU is just that interconnected universe.
Yeah. Real quick, yes, Nick Fury did touch the Tesseract in Avengers. He pulls it out of the thing, puts it in a suitcase, and goes to walk off before Loki's like, excuse me, where are you going?
Yeah, he touched it very briefly.
Yeah, so and speaking about the Avengers theme playing, one thing I do like about this, especially the at the beginning of each episode when they've been doing the previously on, some of these flashbacks have even included flashing all the way back to a movie. And what I like about this is the clips from the movies, they seem to fit right in.
It's seamless.
I think they did this maybe a couple of times on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And whenever they would flash back to a clip from the movie, it was very jarring. You could easily tell that, like, this is a movie, look, and here's a low budget TV show. And like, you don't see that with this, and it looks just spot on perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, he did have gloves on, but so did Red Skull. Yeah.
Yeah. So the situation there is that I think it's with will and intent on using the Infinity Stone is what does things. It's also the Tesseract and the Space Stone were obviously different than the Power Stone, which the Power Stone was the only one out of all of them that would physically harm the person as they were holding it, unless they were powerful enough to control it.
Like Thanos has the Power Stone on his gauntlet when we first see him in Infinity War, but yet we saw it took like pretty much all of the Guardians of the Galaxy to hold it to defeat Ronan.
Yeah.
We get over to Wanda having a nice sit-down talk with Vision, essentially right after Age of Ultron, and that's a nice little scene between them. I think that's where like everyone on Twitter is saying like the tears are swelling up and stuff. That's one of the places that's really swelling it up. And I think one of the biggest things and what has shown the most everything everyone's talking about on Twitter was that line that Vision said.
Yeah.
When Wanda's talking about like the being in grief over the loss of her brother.
Grieving. Grief is just love persevering. It's, man, that line, that I think there was a unanimous. I heard it while I was watching it. I heard everybody who was watching it the exact same time and the exact same moment as me. I heard them all through the window going, oh. I literally heard an audible thing coming through my bedroom window. But the funny thing is that you see like everybody online, they're like, man, that's such a good line. No wonder she fell for him.
I mean,
heck, I fell for Vision there.
Like, I fell for Vision. He's just a robot. He's not even a living person with an actual soul. And
yeah,
I want to have his babies or something like that. I don't know. That might be too much.
You have to spontaneously create them out of nothing. So yeah, it makes sense.
I'm willing to do that.
for a synthezoid, for something that is not human, he sure knows how to hit those human subjects and it just hit him in such a way, because like, while she's sitting there saying that the only thing that's going to bring me comfort and make me feel better is bringing Pietro back, that wasn't true. Those words definitely brought her some comfort. And I just really love that moment that they shared there. And I think if I were to put a pause on just the general direction of this conversation real quick, all three of them, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, and Catherine Hahn, all deserve Emmys for this show. Seriously. They've all three hit it out of the park with what tasks they've been given. So that scene, like, I'm gonna get choked up just thinking about it. Honestly, it was just a really, really touching, really good scene between those two.
Yeah. So then we fast forward even more to after, right after Endgame. I would assume this is pretty much after Tony's funeral. There's Tony's funeral or wake, basically, where they let his heart. Yeah, seriously. Right. They put his fake heart, whatever, his thing out in the water, and it floats away. Wanda has that conversation with Hawkeye. And then that's the end of Endgame. I would assume this is like right after that Wanda is like, I've had enough. Like, I've lost everything. Now we've lost Tony. All's gone. Just nothing's going right. That's it. And so the first thing she does is she goes to the sword base and she wants to see Vision. So when she goes in there, one of the things, this is kind of like I guess a very light Easter egg. I just thought it was funny, but she's talking to this guy at the desk. If you look at the background behind her, you see that Yeah, enhance.
Enhance.
You see that they have like different constellations on there. One of them is the constellation for Gemini, which is the constellation of the twins. If you're not familiar with horoscopes and stuff like that, but
Nerd.
yeah, okay. So I just thought that was a nice little funny like nod right there. She goes in. She meets with Hayward. She really wants to take Vision with her. Of course, we already know that Wanda essentially took Vision. Wanda stole Vision from Sword. So here's the thing: that going back and looking at this image from the previous episode, she's not actually in the process of taking Vision here. This is just shots of her in Sword. She's not doing anything wrong in these photos.
Nope. She's walking over to Hayward's office there.
Yeah.
As we have now found out.
She goes to Hayward's office. He shows her that Vision is essentially disassembled. He's all spread out on all these boards. Yeah, I know. It's a nerve-wracking photo right there that I chose to grab, but it's still cool. That's a cool image. I like it. But
you're sick. You are sick.
I like the idea of it. There was an image in the comics. This is starting to go into from West Coast Avengers, the comic book. There was a storyline of called Vision Quest, where Vision was disassembled, and kind of like what we saw in this episode with him spread out in different pieces on different tables. There was that in the comics. Like these government agencies were trying to disassemble him and then reassemble him to make like the ultimate weapon type of thing. So this is a nice nod to that. And that's seemingly what it looks like Hayward's trying to do, is to recreate Vision, use him as a weapon. And that's what we've been led to believe thus far.
So the interesting thing here, and touch a little bit on Hayward before I move on to something else here, is that Hayward is kind of a jerk, but he's a jerk from our perspective in this scene specifically. Now, there's other scenes later on where he's just a full-blown words I can't say on this channel. He's only slightly a jerk in this scene, though. And I say slightly because we're coming from our perspective. We know Wanda. We are feeling Wanda's pain and her journey. And so anything that he says that seems hurtful or painful towards her, we're going to feel that too, because we're basically in her head going on this journey with her. He was just moving by the book in a very like, look, this is the situation. I'm just going to give it to you straight. Yes, I understand who Vision was to you, but he is also this is this. But there was, and I say this trepidatiously because I know a lot of people out there are still like stuck with what Wanda was going through. There was a level of compassion that he did show here in that when he was saying, you know, not everybody has the power to bring their soulmate back online. And then he caught himself, said, sorry, back to life. The Hayward that we see later on wouldn't say something like that. The Hayward that we've seen like interact with Monica in his office before was very compassionate with Monica. The Hayward that we saw interact with Monica on the field was not. This is a theory that might be brought back up later. We're going to get to questions that lead into next episode here in a minute. I'm just saying there's definitely been two versions of Hayward that we've seen, though. One in his office, one on the field. But what I like here is that she breaks the window, goes down there, and this is another aspect where he was showing compassion. He was just like, nope, let her do what she's got to do. Let her, stand down, stand back, all that stuff. And she goes over to reach for Vision to essentially feel his life force and whatnot in there. This was a fun little callback, and I shouldn't say fun. This was a callback to a very heartbreaking scene in Infinity War. She says to Vision's corpse there, I can't feel you, which is a callback to what Vision was saying when she had to kill him before Thanos was going to get him, where he said, all I can do is feel you, or all I can feel is you, essentially. So it's a callback to what Vision was saying upon his death before. And I just thought that was such a nice little touch, and to prove that the writers on this show just have such a passion for this universe and what has come before. I just thought that was a nice little nod, nice little callback there.
Mm-hmm. And then we see Wanda just happily leave S.W.O.R.D. She doesn't steal Vision. She leaves Vision there. She gets into her, I don't know, middle-class Buick and then just drives off. She drives to Westview, I guess at the behest of Vision's last will and testament, because he had one. And she drives to a plot of land that she has a pamphlet on. It's not a pamphlet, it's actually the deed to that plot of land. Opens it up and it says, like, this is for, I forgot what the wording is on it. Oh, you know what? I got a picture of it. Let's just pull up the picture. Let's go to the picture, y'all.
To grow old
and V.
Is my mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
The thing I like about this is, so this is the property deed for Wanda Maximoff and the Vision. Property address 2800 Sherwood Drive. I love the nod there. So Sherwood is easily a nod to like the creator, executive producer of the Brady Bunch, which was Sherwood Schwartz. So nice little nod there. Brady Bunch is what Wanda was watching in her cell while she was being manipulated or played with by Hydra. While she was being tested, experimented on. Yeah. So it's a nice little nod to that, but I do like the fact that it was Sherwood. So at that point is where she decides to, screw it all. I'm tired of all this. And she creates Westview, including going so far as to rebuild Vision. The thing that's interesting, like in this shot, specifically with this right here, is her powers so far have only been red that we have seen. Notice her powers now turn yellow. And what I'm wondering, is this a callback to, like, say, here, where she's interacting with the Mind Stone? Now she's being inundated with the Mind Stone's powers, and this is the Mind Stone trying to recreate the Vision android that it belonged to. And that's the only way Vision would seemingly live, is with the Mind Stone's powers.
It's essentially recreating his consciousness, so to speak, to a degree. Maybe not not with the memories he had before, but still just recreating it based on what it was. Before we go any further, I want to touch on this real quick that Vernon brings up. Why is no one acknowledging that the Mind Stone had to be returned to where it was before the snap? Where's the Mind Stone? This actually tripped me up before. The Mind Stone is back in Loki's scepter. They took it from 2012 during the events of that Avengers, in which case it was inside Loki's scepter at that time. That's when they went back in time to grab it. So that's where they had to put it back. It wasn't put back into Vision's head, unfortunately. That did trip me up before, though, because I was thinking the same thing and then remembered that it had to go back to Loki's scepter.
So it had to go back to Loki's scepter, and then it followed its natural path to being in the hands of Hydra, and then Age of Ultron visions for it. Cool.
Yep. But I think this is really interesting because there's a question here I want to touch on while we're here. Might as well do it at this time. It's if we go back to previous episodes, Hayward was tracking Vision within the Hex. He was keeping track of him through that Project Cataract and keeping track of his movement, where he was going and what was going on around him. And he was doing it based on his vibranium signature. So my question is, if this Vision was made by Wanda, does that mean through power of Mind Stone, she is able to actually create vibranium like perfectly to a T to match its signature? And I think that's a fascinating thing, because I think that little note right there shows just how powerful Wanda actually is. They touch on it later on with her interaction with Agatha here, but the level of power that she has is immense, that she's able to create like the most densest, rarest metal, essentially. Mm-hmm. I think that's not something to be skipped over.
And she also just became Wakanda's new best friend.
Exactly. Right?
I wonder what T'Challa would think of that. So that's the thing. Like, she can create spontaneous life for as far as we know. Again, the only life she's created is like this vision, and then of course the 2 kids, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But yeah, if she could create life, she could create vibranium. No big deal. So she's creating the Hex. She's creating this fake world based off of the old sitcoms that she grew up loving and watching. She changed, like, the movie theater had the marquee that reads Big Red and Kidnapped. So I had read that these were actual movies, like, that are period specific, but you said you looked into it and found that they weren't real movies.
No, Big Red wasn't an actual, like, movie title by itself. The words Big Red existed in other movie titles, but the only movies close to it were like in the 80s, and then Kidnapped, the earliest movie called Kidnap, was like in the 70s. So that's not period specific to black and white.
Okay. So then we're pretty much done with that. We're all up to date. Everyone now realizes that, yes, once and for all, 100%, Wanda created this entire world that we've been watching ever since episode 1. But Agatha has just been manipulating it since then. So now Wanda's back out. She runs outside, and Agatha's got Wanda's kids. And I don't
She's
know
bad.
I don't know what Agatha's purpose is. Agatha's reasoning for throughout all of this so far has been that she wants to know how Wanda has the power to do what she's done. Like, she said that you created a town, but you've also got control over people miles away. You've got a town on autopilot. Mm-hmm. So this is what's leading me into my speculation as to what could happen in the next episode. What's Agatha doesn't have any reason for being here or existing anymore. She kind of got her answer, and the answer is Wanda's just, like, really pissed off. And so Wanda created this whole town, and Wanda just has so much power that she's able to sustain that town. But before we answer that question, we were blessed by Agatha with the acknowledgement of Wanda being called for the very first time in the MCU the Scarlet Witch.
And I don't know if I was on video calling this, but I definitely know that, at least to myself, I was saying she's going to be called Scarlet Witch by the end of the series. By the time this whole series is done, she's going to be called Scarlet Witch. And lo and behold, Agatha was the one to give her the name.
It was Agatha all along. No,
and I think that what tripped me up there, or what got me on that path, was that when they were talking earlier, like, does she have any aliases, anything else she goes by? No, she doesn't. Like, okay, well, they're going to give it to her in this show then.
There was, like, in previous movies, they did refer to Wanda as, like, the witch.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. That was as close as they got to it. And then, of course, we got another world-famous MCU mid-credit scene where we get to see what Hayward is actually up to. And this is where he realizes that all he needed was a little bit of Wanda's powers to jumpstart Project Cataract. And we are then shown White Vision.
Oh.
Yeah, which this is just a startling vision.
Yeah, there it is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so again, going back to what I was talking about before, that storyline of Vision Quest from the comic books through West Coast Avengers, they did reassemble Vision, and he was white, much like what they show here. Now, we will talk about that some more here in a minute, but one of the things I liked about this is by showing they had this white Vision, they had rebuilt Vision. Hayward is planning on using this Vision as a weapon like he wanted to from the beginning. That we kind of get some closure and some idea as to why it's called Project Cataract. Going back to when we first heard it, I know on our breakdown, I was talking about cataracts being like that foggy cloudiness you get in your eye, specifically if you're losing your vision. A lot of blind people have cataracts and stuff, but cataracts are referred to as like cloudy eye, cloudy vision. Yeah, he's about as white as a cloud. There's why it's Project Cataract. As stupid as that sounds, that's actually probably the logical reason for that. There is some guy, there is some dude that used to like grab sandwiches for the writers in the boardroom of Marvel Studios that was like, you should call it Cataract. He's white, like cloudy vision. It's a good name. And they're like, all right, we'll let Barry have a writing credit on this episode.
Exactly.
Thanks for getting our lunch, Barry. Like,
yeah. So that was like the mid-credit scene of like all mid-credit scenes for the show. Like, I got last week's with the Snooper's Gonna Snoop. That was fun. That was great to show you that Quicksilver's still out here. He's still doing stuff, or fake Quicksilver. Yeah. This one shows that we have a looming oncoming threat in this next episode. And it is not what we thought this show was going to end up with, but it's going to be a vision, essentially a vision on vision kind of fight here. Which, by the way, everybody, in case we were wondering all this time who Paul Bettany was talking about in his interview when he was saying, hey, there's another character to be revealed. It's an actor who I've been longing to work with my entire life. Our chemistry on set just sparks. It's so great. I just can't wait for you all to see it. He's talking about himself. He couldn't wait to work with himself. I love Paul Bettany. If that honestly is true, if that's actually what he was talking about, just top tier trolling, just the best. just the best. So, Rachel, troller's gonna troll.
Yeah. So I know we were trying to keep this under an hour, and well, you know what? This was such a fun episode. We did want to go and have some good explanations for what happened in there. Thank God there wasn't a lot more Easter eggs than there actually was. But I want to jump in real quick to some speculation as for what's going to happen next week. Next week is the finale, and there's so much that they've got to wrap up. There's so many loose ends that need to be tied up. So I'm going to go through this list of like potential loose ends. Let's discuss them real quick. Y'all have any in the chat? Drop them. Make sure you also drop those in via the streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. Guaranteed we're going to be able to see those and get to them. But the first question on the speculation of this, are the kids real?
Yes.
Why do you think so?
I believe they are because we have already established that she is able to create life. It's, I believe, let's see what was up here. Gordon Post up here brought it up. The transmutation. Transmutation being something that Agatha showed her, being able to create and change life and all sorts of stuff there. I think that she absolutely did create life just like she created Vision. Vision is now, I believe, 100% organic in the state that he's kind of in within the Hex, to whatever degree that organic life can sustain outside the Hex we have yet to see. But
well, no, we saw him try to leave the Hex.
We saw him try to leave. I think Agatha was playing some stuff in there though, and why he couldn't leave. That being said, I do think they're real. 100% believe they're real. I think there will be a brief moment where it's kind of called into question just to kind of touch back into the fun little aspects of the comics and everything, but I do believe they are real. I will also say real quick that something dealing with Agatha, I think, is also, they're kind of doing a fun little like touch back in the comics, because in the comics, Agatha was supposed to be Wanda's mentor. Helping her out through a lot of stuff, and that in her own twisted way, she was kind of a mentor through Wanda's pain and suffering in this episode, forcing her to deal with it and face it rather than shy away from it. and then kind of help her understand where her magic comes from and all the same. Like, she's obviously doing it for her own reasons, but there was kind of a touch and nod of like a mentor-esque kind of vibe there that I thought was kind of fun.
So going through the chat real quick, Rachel is asking, do they have to tie everything up? No, they don't. I definitely see there could be like a couple of these that are left in regards to will they get answered in future movies, specifically Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is coming out that we know is going to have direct ties to WandaVision. So possibly. I don't feel like they necessarily need to tie everything up. And Catherine Hahn is definitely a high enough name of an actor to possibly pop up and cause issues in a future movie. So Vernon's saying midichlorians.
Nice, Vernon. Multiverse.
Gordon here. He's actually saying, this is what I was thinking. I'd predicted probably more. I would probably venture a guess that too. It's going to be pushing that hour mark, if not a little bit longer, just to be able to wrap up a lot of stuff. Because for them to do it properly, I don't see that. This isn't a show that I feel like is going to get a season 2. This is a one and done type of thing. So, we just need a full length film for the last episode. I mean, at this point, will the multiverse open? That could be a offshoot. I don't know how to explain it yet, but I'll let them do that.
In order to solve the issues, Wanda might have the ability to open the multiverse to some degree. I mean, it makes sense. She's supposed to be the Nexus being and what have you. So you could see it.
Yes, bonus episode theories. I believe it has been officially debunked, and that there's the episode next week, and then the week after they're doing the Marvel Assembled, kind of like a behind the scenes show. So they're not necessarily going to do another bonus episode if they're trying to they're advertising it now and pushing for, hey, come back and watch the behind the scenes show that we're going to have. And then the next week is Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
A week after that.
I like this idea. Like season 2 would be the House of M type of stuff, but that's going to involve Magneto and X-Men and stuff. We're not quite there yet, but I'm so for it.
It's also going to involve a season 2, which won't exist. So,
well,
this is a season 1 and done series.
So, next question. What happened to Monica? I mean, this one's probably like easy speculation. I believe Monica's under Agatha's control. We just didn't see her in this episode. And Agatha had this. There's another question I have on here. What is Agatha doing now that her question is answered? I kind of touched upon this already. What's Agatha's motivation now that she understands how Wanda created Westview and controls it? What's Agatha wanting to do now? And she still has essentially possession of this fake Pietro and Monica. How are those going to come into play, and what could Agatha possibly want and or do with them? So,
especially because we're also looking at a situation where New Vision and Sword are going to intervene at some point.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the question after that, what will happen with Sword and the White Vision? I don't have very much time to really dive into this as deep as I would probably want to, but I will touch upon it real quick. In the Vision Quest comics, one of the things that they try to do is they're trying to bring back Vision by giving him a soul, by giving him life. And they're unable to do that because when Vision was first created, he was created by Ultron, yes. But in Avengers, they were trying to sustain him, to bring him back to life by using the soul of Wonder Man, which they haven't fully introduced Wonder Man in the movies yet, but there was a nod to him being played by Nathan Fillion in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And so, therefore, there might be a chance that we get a cameo by Mr. Nathan Fillion of Firefly fame in this, and that we do get Wonder Man being brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that they may use him or at least a piece of him to help rebuild the Vision. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Why is it that during that TED Talk you grew an accent? Are you like Wanda all of a sudden?
I don't know. Like by the end of that whole thing, I feel like I was like trying to like channel like Sigmund Freud without the whole like wanting to like have relations with my mom type of thing.
Wow.
That's just a little too weird, even for this channel.
Please don't. She's my mom too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get Wonder Man at all in this. I think at this point it's kind of too late to introduce another like big name character of some sort. I think what we see is what we're getting now.
Yeah,
and that's my guess. I do think that there is a possibility that we get maybe like a Doctor Strange cameo at the end or something, and that might be the big Luke Skywalker-esque cameo that we get in this show. But other than that, I don't see too many other new like crazy out there characters being introduced. Yeah, so the other thing is that from the trailers, we still have not seen the "This is our home, let's fight for it" interaction that Vision and Wanda had in that trailer, which I believe that's going to be one of those things that we that's the third act. That's the Sword and New Vision attacking the town of Westview or whatever they're planning on doing, and that's just the situation that comes up there. I think that really does align for some like really cool third act, like crazy action and stuff that we just really haven't gotten yet in this series, and for good reason. But I'm ready to see some crazy action. Like this is the episode I'm expecting like the whole budget for the show got poured into. Yeah.
Which they've already blown a huge amount of budget. This, from what I've heard, this TV show has been budgeted much like a very well-produced movie, like a sequel to a movie that succeeded very well when it first came out. And they're like, all right, let's give you more money and produce a very high-quality sequel. Like, that's the type of money they threw at this show. Like, right off the bat, they knew this show was going to be good. And they were right.
I'm thinking the two visions will merge into one. That's exactly what I'm thinking will happen too. I'm thinking that it's the old Vision body with the new Vision consciousness, and they will merge to recreate Vision as he was, essentially.
Yeah, this is it's a joke in comic books that no one ever actually really dies. I mean, they killed Captain America right after the Civil War storyline in the comics. They killed Wolverine, which that's damn near impossible. They brought them both back though in very like weird, like okay type of ways. But yeah, I believe that's what we're looking at here is they're bringing back Vision to the movies, so Vision will still be a part of the MCU, which Paul Bettany is probably really ecstatic about being able to grab those paychecks some more.
Until he sits in the makeup chair.
Yeah, until he says about like, really guys, I got to go through this again. So
actually, I like this.
I was gonna cat videos.
Yeah, who cares? Question: do you believe the director of Sword may be Mephisto? Also, a friend pointed out that the sword looks like an upside down cross. I don't think that the upside down cross aspect has anything to do with it because that's just the sword logo in the comics.
Yeah,
but is he Mephisto? That's a good question. Who is Hayward? Because this goes back to what I was saying earlier. We've seen him act kind of nice and somewhat compassionate in his office to a degree. We've also seen him act like
question we had too.
Yeah,
nice. Thank you.
Yes, we've also seen him act a fool on the field and like a big old jerk. So the question is he Mephisto? And he's playing both. Keep in mind, his picture frames in his office were in the shape of a hex. Also, that might not be anything, but it could be. So we're looking at a situation. Is he Mephisto? Maybe. Or is he potentially a advertisement for the next MCU show?
When did you become Dick Van Dyke with the bad Cockney accent in Mary Poppins? The
advertisement.
Actually, no, it was Jane and Michael that said advertisement, not Dick.
Great. Is it actually an advertisement for the next show in which he is secretly a Skrull, or wasn't a Skrull and now is a Skrull? something happened there in between, and he became a Skrull or was replaced by a Skrull. So that's something to be seen. I'm leaning on the Skrull. I don't think at this point we're going to see Mephisto. I don't think Mephisto is going to come into play at all, unless he makes a grand appearance, and that kind of goes against my theory that any more characters will just randomly show up. The only way Mephisto is in this is if Hayward is Mephisto and has been the entire time.
I am on the idea that Hayward is possibly a Skrull. There might be, again, we've gotten confirmation of the character Nightmare is going to be a part of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. There might be a chance that he might be Nightmare. Maybe. I don't think so. I want to go more on him being a Skrull.
Yeah, so I'm more inclined to think Skrull also because that plays into the Secret Invasion show we're getting. That plays back into the next Captain Marvel movie. There's just a bunch of different ways that could offshoot there.
The other thing that's making me question it is he told Monica, when Monica came back, he told Monica that he was acting director of S.W.O.R.D. But in this episode, he told Wanda that he is the director of S.W.O.R.D.
Yeah.
Was there a change of who was playing Hayward? Is there a real Hayward that actually is a nice person and not a Dick Van Dyke's out there somewhere?
No, I think for that situation, since they both take place in his office, probably pretty close to around the same time, it was just how do I speak to this individual? I need to speak with a little more firmness to Wanda based on the situation at hand. I can level with Monica. She's one of our own. So yeah, I think that's your difference there.
Yeah. So we covered how was Hayward tracking Vision's vibranium. Yep. Does she have the power to create? Okay, so we tracked that. Yeah. Let's go. This is a good, interesting question that we seemingly, I guess Marvel's trying to make you forget. When Jimmy Woo was brought into this episode, he was looking for a missing person. We've completely forgot about this missing person. Like, no one cares who this missing person is. Who is this missing person? And was this missing person and Agnes, her husband Ralph, if he even exists, were they all red herrings just to get everyone into this area?
I'm starting to believe yes. I think there's a part there where maybe the missing person is just one of the townspeople, and when he was looking for a missing person, he found a missing town, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that might be part of it. Ralph being a red herring, I'm starting to believe that Ralph just never existed, that anytime Agnes brought up Ralph, she was just doing it for the sake of what needed to be done for that particular scene. I think the both are red herrings, unless the Skrull theory is true about Hayward, and for somehow, some way, the missing person is actually Hayward. And maybe he didn't know the name of the missing person. He just knew he was searching for a missing person. It could be a little bit of a stretch there, especially if you're trying to pack all that into the last episode. I really do think that if we get Hayward as a Skrull, that's like post-credit scene. That's like the last thing you get. And that's literally, like I said, it's an advertisement for the Secret Invasion show.
I need to get you some readers.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I can read perfectly fine.
Okay. So yeah, that's where our speculations are going on this. Obviously, the next episode is going to be a huge Wanda and I guess her vision versus S.W.O.R.D. and the new Vision.
I would love this. Like if this was like the troll that Elizabeth Olsen did on everybody. The Luke Skywalker cameo is literally Mark Hamill.
That would be funny. That's just going to be a recurring joke with Disney Plus. Like at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, Mark Hamill shows up, looks at Winter Soldier and goes, we could be twins.
Yeah, right.
You could play me when I was younger.
By the way, Movie Shinobi, thank you for that super chat that I brought up here a little bit ago. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Advertisement, I think, is what he was wanting.
Advertisement.
Advertisement.
I will never not say it any other way now.
Thank you, Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Advertisement. Yeah.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Anyway, guys, we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. If you've got any other questions, comments, we'll look back through the chat here, but definitely for sure, if you have anything else, go ahead and send it to that Streamlabs. Otherwise, get them in here real quick as we start wrapping up.
I know. So here's the thing. This is a timeline of what we're looking at real quick. Next week, obviously, is the finale for this. And you better believe your sweet Bippy, we're going to be here next Friday night to talk about the finale. Next week, though, we might be a little bit delayed. So while we started at 9 p.m. Central Time tonight, 9:05. Give me a minute. I just got home from work. Next week, I believe we might be delayed till possibly 30 minutes, 45 minutes after. I don't know. There might be some other things that are playing on YouTube at the time that might delay our ability to get this started right at 9. And that's going to be the thing going forward. I'll just go out and say it. We're big fans of the movie Trivia Schmodown. And they will be starting next week, and they did last week also, but whatever. Starting next week, they will be airing episodes live, or not live, on YouTube at the time, potentially, while we want to go live. Well, we want to watch the Schmodown also, so our recap episodes here might be delayed just a little.
It's us. We watch it, and as well as a bulk of you guys, our audience here, also participate and enjoy watching that as well. We want to give them the opportunity to watch it live if you want to watch live, and then come hang out with us afterwards. So it just works better for everybody if we just push it back a little bit further. So I believe we're pushing it back next week, potentially. And then
just keep an eye on social media, Cinefanatics MLP at Twitter, Instagram. You'll see that announcement of what we decide that we want to do. Here's the thing is potentially pushing them to Saturday, but
probably not. We got enough other stuff that we're doing, like in regards to our Patreon and everything else that we're doing on the channel that we do on Saturdays, and with how we do jobs and everything right now outside of this, which is why it's important to send things to Streamlabs, y'all, so that and get on the Patreon, y'all, so that we can do things whenever like that. Outside of that, though, we're probably not going to be able to do these on Saturday. So next week we've got the last episode here. Then following that is going to be the behind the scenes, essentially, for the whole series, which I don't believe we're going to be doing anything live stream for that. So enjoy that, guys, on your own. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic and really eye-opening for a lot of stuff that we all thought we knew this entire time. After that, I believe there's a week off. And then the following week after that is when we will be getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in which case you're going to want to tune right back in here. I'm correct.
I thought the week of Marvel's Assembled is the week off.
2 weeks.
Okay. Anyways, when Falcon and Winter Soldier premieres,
yes, you're going to want to come right back here, because what we're doing here with WandaVision, we're going to do a Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're going to start it all back over again for another, I'm sure, 8 or 9 episodes, however long that one is.
6 episodes right now.
6 episodes, thank the Lord.
Well, supposedly WandaVision was supposed to be 6 episodes, and then they were like, oh, no, it's going to be 9.
Yeah.
So, are you guys going to react to Schmodown matches? We used to.
We were. We're not doing it this year.
We're not doing it this year, this season, but we might have something to supplement that. We will give details later.
We for sure will be popping up. I know for sure, we'll probably be popping up on, say, certain point of view or a call to action. Anytime any one of them want to have us on as guests, we'll definitely be popping up on their channels. But outside of that, no, we're not doing our own reactions this season.
Yeah. So,
it's a time thing, y'all. It's a time thing.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot to do while I still work 40 hours a week. So again, Streamlabs, Patreon. Anything like that would be great, so we could alleviate like some things that take up a lot of our time that don't help this channel from our lives. Yeah. So let's go back up. I want to see. There's a couple of questions on here. I know 14 Little Angel was asking before if we had talked about the
toaster,
the bomb and the toaster. Yeah, we did cover that, the similarities between the two. The toaster was definitely a throwback to the bomb. And
Doctor Strange, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Toaster.
Yeah.
Got it.
Good job.
Yes.
Why hexagons? The only reason I could think of hexagons is just because of just plain simple hex. It's just a hex shape. Hex has to do with putting magical powers, curses on people. That's why it was just a play on the fact that it was hex.
Also, if you go back to the Doctor Strange movie, they're in their like library where they keep all like the spell books and everything. They're all strapped together in like a hex situation as well. So hex is just 6-sided. It's just common with magic and magic-esque stuff. So
yeah. Anyways, that looks like that's gonna be it.
Yeah. So guys, to wrap up here, again, we say this, go ahead and hop over on that Patreon. We're doing all sorts of cool stuff on that Patreon, especially this weekend. As I said at the top of the show, we will be doing a Coming to America watch along tomorrow. And that's going to be for the first one. Obviously, the second one is coming out here pretty soon. So in preparation for that, we're going to do a watch along to the first one. You can join us at the dude tier on Patreon. Be one of our dudes. Be one of our dudes at the dude tier. And you can join in there. Our moderator, Vernon, in the chat there, he is doing a giveaway for the first Coming to America on 4K Blu-ray combo pack. The only way you can enter for a chance to win that is hop on that Patreon at that dude tier and join us for the watch along tomorrow. Then you'll be entered and you might actually win it. So that could be a ton of fun for you. On top of that, we got other cool stuff there linked up. You can join the Discord through our Patreon. That's where we're building just a giant movie-loving community over there. We've already got a few people on there having some fun in the Discord and chatting about different things. Whatever we're doing here, we usually like to want to carry the conversation over, if we can, into that Discord as well. So that's a great place to do that. As well as on the Maverick tier on our Patreon, we do movie trivia nights. Right now, those are ramping up. We might be doing those more often than even once a month. Right now, that tier says once a month, but keep an eye out. If you join at that tier, we might call on you to join us. Gosh, whenever we have time to actually do one, really. Kind of going to be happening all over the place.
We did one the other night, and that was a lot of fun. We had a good time with that. So, yeah, we'll do like random movie trivia just for fun and no other reason.
For funsies.
Yeah.
For funsies and stuff, yeah. Anyway, and hey, just like that, real quick. Oh, no, never mind. You're good.
The Addams Brothers don't have bloopers. They say precisely, and then Vernon. Thanks, Vernon.
That's not true. We definitely have bloopers, and you can find those at the Avengers tier, where we do all of our extra content from our rankings and stuff, which I'll let you take away on that.
At the which one?
The rankings and stuff. We're doing rankings.
Next week, we will be ranking our top 10 Eddie Murphy movies in celebration of Coming to America coming out. We will be doing the ranking of what we think is the best from one of the funniest actors ever. Eddie Murphy, fantastic. We've been watching a lot of his movies, trying to catch up on some of these that we felt like we've missed, but we have a very strong appreciation from him, and I absolutely love doing this ranking. So that will be next week. We will also be doing a review for Coming to America, the second one. That's why I'm holding up a 2. Go figure. So that will also be next week. Let me see. Tuesday nights at 9:30 Central Time is the tagline. That's our flagship show where we talk about movies, movie news. If you're enjoying our conversations and like our little back and forth here about WandaVision, come back for the tagline where we're talking about typically, hopefully, something more than just Marvel. That's right. We also talk about DC also. Maybe some Star Wars, and hopefully maybe something outside like geek movies that are meant to draw in a YouTube crowd. But we will talk about movies, movie news, ourselves personally, like what's going on in our lives. We might touch upon that a little bit just because we hope you care. So that is Tuesday nights, 9:30 p.m. on this channel. It's the tagline. And then also we have movie trailers coming out. Movie trailers are starting to become a lot more abundant, y'all. And we're doing reactions to them. We did Cruella. We did Mortal Kombat. There's a rumor, supposedly there's going to be a Space Jam one maybe tomorrow or very soon. Hopefully we are able to get to that trailer and get that reaction out. So again, keep an eye on this channel for that. Otherwise, yeah. Make sure you do all those YouTube things. Give this video a like if you haven't. Make sure you comment if you are watching not live, if you're watching this on a replay later. Make sure you share it. Tell your friends, hey, these guys know what they're talking about. They know that Robert guy knows his comic books. He's been a comic book fan ever since he was a wee little kid. So therefore, he's bringing that comic book knowledge to these shows that we all enjoy. So share this with them. Let them know, hey, these people know what they're talking about. Watch this. And then also subscribe, comment, like that's a very common YouTube thing to ask. Subscribe to the Cinefanatics, help us out. It'll get us where we need to go. Every time I say that, I think late to the party, and I'm so sorry that they took a really good phrase, but I mean, yeah, that helps us out immensely. So, anyways, that's gonna do it for tonight. Anything else you got?
Nope. We just want to thank everybody for being here, for showing up, for chatting in the chat, for giving us your thoughts and theories. And we will see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Finale.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. Y'all better be here.
End it.